So, here it is, Merry Christmas and all that. Everybody's having fun, but of course, we vegans know it's not much fun for the other animals, don't we? So, I'm coming up to my 40th Christmas now as a vegan, but I'm thinking about the vegans who are coming up to their first Christmas, and I know it can be a pretty tough time, especially those who might watch any of the mass media outlets, relentless adverts of dead other animals and people pretending to love each other, and there's all that kind of falseness about Christmas and all the rest of the stuff that goes on. So I'm just thinking about them at this time, and I wanted to say something about culture. Psychology is quite popular in the vegan movement. And that probably reflects our kind of neoliberal times where people think as individuals rather than as members of groups. But more sociologically, we're dealing with a culture, and the culture is speciesist. So we're dealing with cultural speciesism. And, if somebody is mean to you as a new vegan over Christmas, it's not necessarily just one individual being mean to another, but of course that can happen. But more often than not, it's liable that it's also just a reflection of their culture. So you're dealing with deeply socialized speciesists who see the world in, not through the eyes of vegans. They don't see other animals as persons, particularly. They don't see what vegans see. So, vegans talk about waking up and other people being asleep. There's a kind of, I understand why that we would use that kind of language. But we're talking about a culture in which other animals are devalued as beings and as moral persons. And individuals are just like a reflection of that. So as you're coming up to Christmas, try to remember that there is a vegan community there. The isolated vegans are the ones who can find themselves, in a bit of a pickle, really. Research suggests that it's the ethical vegans who remain vegan. And that's true, but the ethical vegans are also the ones who are going to feel the strain a little bit at Christmas, especially if you spend it with family members who just don't really get your veganism. You might be explaining it to them and they're not getting it, or they're just downright rejecting it, or they're mocking it, So try to remember that there is a vegan community out there. You can ask for support. Lots of Facebook groups where you're not going to get shouted at. You're going to get, a lot of support, and try to use those if you're not feeling so great. And possibly, try to minimize your engagement with all the Christmas adverts that go on, because, they're just going to be unrelenting in terms of animal use and rights violations left, right, and centre. So it's going to be a hard time, but my message, Roger's Christmas message, for what it's worth, is trying to get over this difficult period and know, as I've done for 39 years now, know that there is a time after Christmas when it will all die down a little bit again. So, take a bit of heart in that respect. And just remember, you can almost feel sorry for people. In a way, you can feel sorry for people who are so embedded into their culture that they can't resist it. There's this philosopher called David de Grazier, and he says that vegans have got a certain independence of mind, which other people don't have, or don't have to such a degree. Now, this is not something to think that we're superior about. It's just the fact that some people are just so embedded in their culture that they can't really resist it. They can't really resist what the culture expects of them. There are some people, I think, that are just so much victims of society. Society tells them what to do, year by year, day by day, and they'll go and do it. Veganism is something that will increase your level of critical thinking, and we'll start to reject all those things that everyone else just falls into line and conforms about. So that's what's going to happen to you. There is going to be a time after this intense period of animal use, abuse, rights violations, whatever you want to call it. So have a bit of heart in that respect. Okay, that's really what I wanted to say. So take care, and I'll see you again.